Hello everybody, it is me, GamePenguin21, and today, oh boy, looks like we got some more interesting news for PlayStation fanboys this week. Now, PlayStation itself has been going through a bit of a rough time, so this entire week's going to be just dedicated to PlayStation fanboys. So I have two videos planned for this week. One about this current situation with the PlayStation 5 old exclusive of Spider-Man 2 coming to PC. I'm fairly certain all PC gamers saw this coming, but we thought that it would be a little bit longer before it actually came out. But also, and more importantly, I have some new stuff on the PS5 Pro. Now, again, this is more of a smaller video on that one, so that one's going to be coming out Thursday, but this is the Tuesday video, so let's actually talk about the PlayStation announcing this whole thing and the subsequent salt that has come from all of the PlayStation fanboys. With that being said, if you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any other way, shape, or form other than a like and subscribe, which is always enough, links down to everything in the description below. But without further ado, let's talk about this. So PlayStation, or more specifically the Insomniac developers, decided to put out a tweet talking about some Spider-Man 2 news, and that Spider-Man 2 news happened to correspond, or at least a lot of people thought that it was going to be a story DLC. Unfortunately, it was just the PC port for the current game of Spider-Man 2, with a lot of people now trying to say, hey, that means that they're probably working on the Wolverine and stuff, or ETC, or something like that, which we'll get into in a bit. Now, as someone who has played the first Spider-Man, Spider-Man 1, I can definitely say it is a game that is not for me. Like, not that that's a bad thing. I will 110% say that this does have a very good and cool aesthetic, and does have some at least fun gameplay aspects. It's just that I'm an FPS guy. I prefer FPS games. That's just my personal preference. I don't think that I'll also be buying this because I also saw that there were some people complaining about a PSN account, which is, again, still a stupid thing that is required for single-player games, especially on the Sony side. Don't do this. You will lose sales. I can guarantee that. But other than that, let's get into some of the salt here. Starting, of course, off with TRC with, I'm going to be honest here. This isn't not a good decision. What's the point of buying a PS5 nowadays if every PS game comes eventually to the PC? I mean, as some Sony fanboys would put it, like, you get to play it first. I mean, like, come on. How do you not feel like, you got something special, that you have to pay more for a lesser experience and continuously play into an ecosystem? I mean, still funny. Next up here, we have Dermakas on something saying, officially one less PlayStation 5 exclusives. The reasons to bother owning a PlayStation 5 continue to get smaller and smaller. Moving then on to Digital Dog here with Xbot Rees and Xbot Fidges on PC are acting like it's 2017. And the first PlayStation game just got announced for PC. It's 2024. Brain dead morons. This is a normal practice these days. Go back to drinking your blended food through a straw, if that even possible. You don't get why people are excited. And here's the thing: if you didn't care, you wouldn't make like a tweet about this. It's 2017 and blah blah blah. They've been doing this for years. This is standard practice. So why are you so upset about it? Like, why did you feel the need to, like, tweet this out and retweet the official announcement and stuff? Like, why did you feel the need to do that? Is my biggest question right now. Kind of sounds to me like you're a bit salty. I don't know why. Just sounds like that to me. Purifying Pumpkin comes in with a watching Sony fast-track their Spider-Man 2 PC port instead of a Spider-Man 2 PSVR 2 port. Was anyone actually, like, considering that to be a thing that was, like, that people wanted? Like, I don't know about you, but I have never heard a single, like, mention of any PC VR or PSVR 2, like, compatibility with it. Maybe I'm just stupid on the news, and so maybe, like, leave it in the comments. This is one of those things where I'm actually kind of interested in it, but there was some talk about this, and some people were like, hey, they're actually going to make it for, like, a mod thing, which I don't know if that's going to be possible. I personally think that like doing a Spider-Man 2 thing in VR or PlayStation VR 2 port of Spider-Man 2 would kind of like be not bad, but it would be very like sickening inducing, even for someone that's like has over thousands of hours in other games that have this stuff. But I don't know, just seems funny. Next up here, we have Brick Fighter saying, instead of DLC, and that's why Insomniac is fucking shit now. With KSV5 in, how can they be profitable? How can that be profitable for PlayStation? Let me be clear here. It can be because they don't have to. Because the main reason why is because they know that it's like the Rockstar treatment where they can double dip on it. And again, it's like, how can this be profitable for PlayStation? It literally is cheaper to port over the game because the game's already completed and in a state of playability, and it's cheaper to port that over so they can make a lot of their money back and then some by investing a little bit into an ecosystem that's not necessarily competing with the PlayStation, but also has a huge, gigantic fucking audience that will most likely buy that in perpetuity. Perpetuity meaning into the foreseeable future, so long as you give them a way to give you that money. Like that's just how this works. That's how this has always worked. It's almost like when you take your when you take your groceries or your store bought like food or goods or whatever and put them into as many stores as possible, even competing stores like Stop and Shop and like Kmart and Walmart and stuff. Like when you put all of that into as many storefronts as possible so it gets in front of as many eyeballs as possible, statistically speaking, that means that you are going to get more sales, statistics-wise, that is. I don't know, just maybe because someone like me has a business degree, maybe I can see that a little bit better. Kenny EO2 with a PS wants to cannibalize their own console market. It doesn't cannibalize sales of their console or hardware market if they can make more money off of the software, which is in some cases cheaper to produce. So, next up here we have David Rains with, are you guys trying to kill PlayStation consoles? This actually became like one of the biggest talking points for a bit. Where they were like, oh, you're trying to kill PlayStation consoles, you're trying to kill and cannibalize your sales and like delete everything and stuff like that. To the point where I think Magod Mdov here has like the funniest take on this whole thing, where he basically just says, PS5 owners are now treated like African Atlantics in the slave trade. What the fuck? We are second-class gamers, and Sony don't care about us anymore. Just like the countries allowed their people to be enslaved and trafficked Sony, letting us get mocked by PC gamers. Are you okay? Like, I think that you definitely 100% need to get off the fucking internet if this is how you believe. If this is what you truly believe in. Like, we're still going to mock you, but we're going to mock you for making comparisons like this. Because comparisons like this are fucking stupid to the nth degree. Like, what the hell, dude? Comparing it to a very big tragedy and, like, Jesus Christ. Makes my head spin. Next up here, we have KGinx with, it appears PlayStation does not want to invest in the future of PlayStation hardware, monitoring the situation closely by the window of exclusivity. It's definitely shrinking. What gives? Have you guys stopped to consider what happens when you begin to alienate your core audience, learning nothing from Xbox, I see. Hope it's worth it in the end. I mean, alienating your core audience, quote unquote, you're still most likely going to buy the next PlayStation or buy the next thing. And if that means that you get to give them more money, still, that's, like, fine with them. They don't care where the money comes from so long as they get the money in the end. And, again, given their huge-ass investment into, say, Concord and other games that have been, like, huge failures on their platform, don't you think that, like, porting their games over to make more money to subsidize that investment is good and better for the company in the end to survive in the long term. Like, they put a lot of money into their exclusivity stuff, and again, Concord failed, and like a bunch of their other games haven't been successful either. The only recent one I can think of is like Astrobot, and that's really the only big successful one that I can think of. But still, like, that's kind of ridiculous if you think about it, you know? Next up here we have Darkborn with, so instead of making the DLC, you guys decided to make a port for people who will just pirate the game and will hack you guys again. I mean, again, the hacker groups probably aren't connected at all to the PC dudes or the PC and community, and most of them know that that's like a lot of people know that that's a bad thing, that they wouldn't hack it. But the fact that they've been hacked a number of times and still haven't done really anything about it, that's not a good thing. Just increase their security. But if I had like a sign to tap, my whole thing here is that to the people who will pirate the game will most likely pirate the game regardless, especially if they're going to make a PSN account requirement for this. Those people will end up buying the game or cracking the game and pirating the heck out of it, and so it can be distributed. So guess what? It's just like Sony leaves money on the table. Other people are going to come in and be like, if we want the game, we're going to get the game and crack the game. That's just how this works in the end of the day. I mean, again, the people who would pirate the game aren't necessarily your customers to begin with. Like, that's my biggest thing here. So, and that's coming from a dude who does marketing. So, Next up here, we have Linguinity. I don't know how you pronounce that. PlayStation is so ass lately. PC gets more news about waste of time and resources ports than new games on their own consoles. I would understand if PC sales were great, but they aren't for some reason. They keep getting worse with each PC release. I mean, Helldivers 2 and also a bunch of the other games that were like released day and date. Maybe not Concord. Concord itself was bad. For several other reasons other than the PC. But also, like, to get 20 to 30,000 sales or even more than that on a platform that was not going to buy it to begin with, but weren't going to come over to buy it and invest in your platform, but will still give you money for the game is better. And also, like, the PC being diminished in terms of returns on investment, I think that has to do with more with the PSN account requirements rather than anything else. Ever since they did that, that's when the PC sales started to seemingly drop off of a cliff, because again, the PC is more of an open market, and the people who don't like making an account for something also just don't want to make another account for something. Also, they still do not have PlayStation Network access in several hundred, or not several hundred, but like at least 100 plus different countries. So yeah, when you decide to, only market to the countries that in turn may or may not buy it and have a smaller market or buying power, then maybe. But also, in the end of the fact that the people who can't even get the game in other countries would want to buy it in the first place. That's one of the big reasons why Helldivers 2 sold so well, is because it managed to break out from where PSN was required and break out of the countries to get to and be playable outside of their normal places that they get gamers from. Like, I just think that that's stupid. But sure, it's not a good investment, despite the fact that they've probably made millions upon millions of dollars on that. JJ here with a boo. This is dog shit move, Sony. You acting like you ran by a bunch of bitches. Okanda coming in with you're just discontinue your console. Recall PS5 Pro ASAP. Bop with another game to buy, negatively review, and return. Wow, you are a salty bitch. And end off this whole little section with ML Gecko with nice, but now I have to deal with PC banish basement race crying about PSN accounts for the next 4 months. Look, again, we've been over this a number of times. The reason why people don't want a PSN account, or at least for me personally, speaking from personalness, is that I don't trust PlayStation. I don't want to make a PSN account that I'm only going to probably use for a handful of games that I'm only vaguely interested in. Yeah, certainly, that's the same logic for, say, the PlayStation itself or the PlayStation console itself, but at the end of the day, I don't care enough about these games personally to actually make an account for it. And given their history, I don't trust PlayStation to do that, to be like super secure in their regards. And again, this is for all of their games moving forward. They learned the wrong lesson from Helldivers 2. Don't put a PSN or an account requirement for it because we're sick of making separate accounts for stuff. And people are like, oh, well, you have all these other accounts. Yeah, I don't want all these other accounts. I would like just maybe 1 to 5-ish accounts, maybe. But even just having the one account for Steam is enough for me because that gives me access to most of the games that I would already want. So who the fuck cares? It's like, oh, well, who the fuck cares about this? And it's like, look, I care because it just doesn't feel... It just feels like you're defeating the purpose as to why people are upset. All right? We don't want any more accounts. We don't want any more of, like, these options. And having the option to do that for just a handful of games, even single-player games that have a separate account, is annoying. Uplay was annoying. Origin was annoying. Whatever the fuck EA and Blizzard was doing was annoying. It lost sales, and some of their games were then retroactively ported back to Steam. Like, dude. Next up here, we have Nicola saying, so when The Last of Us 2 releases on PC, does that mean it enlarges again? Where people were talking about the exclusivity thing. And to that I have to say, no, you're a dumbass. They're talking about new-ish types of releasing of the new game versus when it comes out on PC. That window of new game to PC is definitely closing in terms of quote-unquote exclusives. That's why people are saying that it's getting faster and faster and faster, despite the fact that a lot of PlayStation console exclusive games, as to be very specific, have released day and date on PC. Now again, they're console exclusive, meaning that they are exclusive to just the PlayStation console in the console space, but they're not exclusives in terms of like they're only available on that one. I'm personally excited for The Last of Us or Horizon's The Last of Us, or not The Last of Us, Horizon Lego Edition coming to PC. That one's going to be fun to do. Next up here is That Person You Love to Hate with when Spider-Man 2, a game that sold 11 million copies on console, sell 80K on PC, maybe they'll have enough performance data to shutter that PC Publishing LLC. And all I have to say to that is, why? Like, why would they shutter that? And, you know, why making $80,000 like 2 years after the game's like post-launch hype is bad? Why is that awful? I mean, again, a game that sold 11 million copies on one console, sure, but adding to that 11 million copies, imagine if it breaks 1 million or 2 million on this thing. That's an extra 80 to 1 million sales that you actually made off of this game that is kind of past its hype and honeymoon phase. I mean, again, it just seems like good business to me. Plus, again, they don't have to make that much money back if it's a port of a game, and they already probably made all of their money back with the 11 million. Though, again, I forget the specific budget, so they might have not. Again, this console, like, again, they still have to make do on a good investment from previous bad business practices stuff. Next up, we have 100 with, is it just me, or... Is it just me? Why are so many people happy old-ass Spider-Man 2 come to PC? Ah, yes, 2 years is apparently an old-ass game. 75% of PC players do not playing on a high-end PCs. Okay, your point. Just because you bought a gaming PC from Dell, don't buy from Dell, it don't mean anything if you don't know how to run it on there. What? How does that make any sense? PC Master Race is happy for another Sony one and done. Dude, you just sound like you're a salty bitch who's trying to throw back what we have said to you guys over the years. And why are you upset? Why are you upset that that's the case? And yeah, certainly, maybe 75% of people aren't playing on high-end PCs, sure, but have you looked at the specs for the game? Have the specs actually been released? I don't even think that they have been released at this point. But it's like, just because you get a gaming PC from Dell, it's like, who buys from Dell? Dell is for work PCs. Also, again, don't buy from Dell. But the PC Rise Race over Sony one and done, it's like, we're happy that more people get the option to play it. I think we'll end it off on this whole essay from Synth Potato, because I think that this covers the majority of the rest of this thing, how people kind of understanding this mindset at least a little bit. It's kind of like a peek behind into the mind of a PlayStation guy. Saying, a hot take, I don't think it's bad that a bad thing that Sony is putting their games on PC, and I don't get why everyone acts like this makes the PS5 worthless or not have games. Spider-Man 2 and all their other exclusives are still PS5 games. You couldn't play them anywhere else for over a year, and they are still console exclusive. The PlayStation 5 audience is rarely the same audience on PC otherwise. These games wouldn't sell well on PC again a second time around. Okay, that first few ones seems like he's trying to be at least somewhat sympathetic. Like, I agree that it's not a bad thing Sony putting their games onto the PC at all. It's extra money, it's extra development time that they can have an extra money in their, well, it's mainly the extra money in their pockets. The extra development time usually only comes from Nixie's, who's a good porting company, and I'm glad that they're handing off the Spider-Man 2 port to Nixie's. Good on them. But to say that these wouldn't sell so well on PC again a second time around, there's a reason for that. If they were included in the hype, in the day one hype for the game, I'm fairly certain you'd be able to get a lot more sales in that. But, what do I know? I'm just a dude who has a business major. Oh well. But the next paragraph here is, the PS5 is still an amazing console with tons of games that you can play only on the PlayStation 5 console. About 10, exclusively to them. But, I mean, Not Nintendo, not Xbox. It also helps with longevity, as we don't get a Bloodborne situation again, where we are desperate for a port all these years later. Everyone wins in this. PS5 owners get consistent, amazing exclusives. PC get to play and mod it a year later. We literally all win. Until they decide to go day and date with specific games, and, when those games themselves decide to go day and date in order to get people to give them more money. I mean, I hope you keep that same energy when they do that, when they do inevitably decide to do that, because they need the money, because they've made a huge amount of losses off of other games. So, whatever. It's fine. At the end of the day, at least he is somewhat capable of understanding that this is not the end of the world, and the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation brand will still live on, just maybe not as the same PlayStation that you, quote, know and love with amazing exclusives. But, again, whatever. In the end of the day, it's just really funny that this news finally came out, and overall, I just think that this is fucking hilarious. But with that being said, if you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, other than a like and subscribe, which is always enough, links down to everything in the description below. Thank you all again so much for watching. I did release another Patreon/Ko-Fi type video onto the Ko-Fi, if you want to go and support me over there. This one was about Ubi's thing to gamers and their whole talking points and stuff. So yeah, that's going to be up on the Ko-Fi. I wanted to release a couple weeks ago, but this video pushed that video down the line, and I'm like, I can't in good conscience release this as a Thursday video, because then it would be more or less too late. I was thinking about releasing it Sunday, but I'm like, again, it's an older type of situation, and quite frankly, I'm probably going to release it early on the Ko-Fi, so you can go and buy it from that, and then I will eventually re-release. It's probably on a Saturday video if I decide to, that it deserves it, because, whatever, so do be on the lookout for all of that. But my next video is going to be on the PS5 Pro and how apparently it's a very good console, and we're going to be looking at a very small video on it. With that being said, again, my name is GamePenguin21. Thank you for listening to me yap into a microphone for 20 minutes, and a peace off.